Are you getting ready to go to a VEX IQ competition or getting ready to be a referee at a competition? Do you want to test your understanding of the nuances of the mix and match rules with some scoring examples? If so, this video should be helpful. I'm Coach Tyne, and in this video, I'll show you some scoring examples, show you the score for those, and show you what it'll look like on the official scoring tablet, which as a referee, you'll be inputting, and as a team member, you'll actually look at the end of a match to check for verification. One important note before we start is that at the time of the creation of this video, the latest game manual was version 2.2 from early December, and I only have access to questions in the Q&A from that same time frame. So as always, be sure to check the latest manual and Q&A for updates. This is especially important because this is the first year that I can remember where the Game Design Committee has some interesting statements about making adjustments throughout the season and potentially changing the scoring to encourage teams to use underutilized goals. Here's an example where a Q&A from June was revised and actually changed in October. I have never seen that happen before. Also, scoring examples in Game Manual 2.1 were changed. The score was actually changed in the for December manual as well. So be sure to check the description below, and I'll note if any scoring examples in this video change or are determined to be wrong, and I'll note it down there as I can't change this video once it's uploaded. Also, if you see something that looks wrong, please comment below and I can investigate the scoring in this video. Again, everything that's in here is my best interpretation of the rules based on being an IQ head ref for almost a decade. Okay, as a remember, for details on how this year's scoring works, go and check out my full video scoring, which is linked below in the description if you haven't seen it yet. But as a quick reminder, the scoring cheat sheet is each pin in a stack is worth 1 point, beams in a stack are worth 10, stacks with 2 colors in them are worth 5 points, stacks with 3 colors in them are worth 15 points. The fun matching goal bonus that applies to both stacks that are in a goal, where the bottom pin matches the color of the goal, or any stack that has a beam in it also gets a matching goal bonus. And all stacks that are on the standoff goal get an extra 10 points. Clearing those starting pins is worth 2 points each. And finally, as discussed in that other video, each robot in contact with 2 or more scoring objects at the end of the match will get 2 points. For research on this video, I went to visit the St. James School robotics team in Manchester, Connecticut. They were awesome. Mr. and Mrs. Poth are incredible. Coaches over there, and the team was super nice and let me try out a couple different scoring examples and just get my hands on all the scoring objects. And so we had a really good time over there, and I especially thank them for helping to be able to get this video together. So let's jump in. Okay, here's a stack of 3 pins. Feel free to pause here and take your guess at the score. So this is worth 28 points. The 3 pins get you 3 points. They're 1 point each. There is a single 3-color stack here worth 15 points. And then because the red pin, which is on the bottom, is in the red goal, you get the 10-point matching goal bonus. So you get the total of 28 points. At the end of the match, as a referee, you would input this like this. So this is the screen on the tournament manager. And you can see on the top, you input the connected pins. And there's no connected beams, obviously, in this one. There is 1 3-color stack. There is 1 matching goal bonus. There are no stacks placed on the standoff goal, obviously, no cleared starting pins, at least in this example, and the robot is not contacting the scoring object here. So as a team member, this is what you would see. The referee would show you this, and you would validate and go, yep, that looks good to me. And so we'll just go through this. I will not stop and explain the scoring on the tablet for every single one of these, but this just sort of gives you an idea of what you're going to be looking at when you're at a competition. So this one is right out of the game manual and my last video, so give it a shot. So this is actually worth 91 points. There are 6 connected pins plus 10 points for the connected beam. There are 3 3-color stacks, and because these stacks are connected to a beam, they each get the matching goal bonus of 10 points. And here is what it would look like on the tablet at the end of the match. So this is another example straight from the game manual, and its score changed in the December 4th update in version 2.2. The important thing here is that those 2 pins on top are sitting on the beam. They aren't connected to it. So give it a shot. Okay, so this is tricky. What's important is that the stack on top is resting on the beam. It's not nested in it. So how is that handled? Well, Clause D and E were actually added to Rule SC3 in December to clarify how it works. Prior to the 2.2 update, the stacks on top of the beam counted, but now it does not. So SC3 says that a stack that is resting on one of the following field objects in a way that is more up and down than sideways, which referees have generally been interpreting as less than 45 degrees from vertical, is considered roughly vertical. So a stack can be legally resting on one of these field elements. Let's go through them one by one. The first place that a stack can be resting on is the floor. Okay, that's easy. It can also be on the loading zones, which are those two VEX parts where pins can be loaded. Stacks can also be on the lower portion of the standoff goal, so just that lower area that's boxed in green there. So for example, a stack like this is actually considered valid as it's on that little base of the standoff goal. And lastly, those little tiny ramps that are around the edge of the square goal. Okay, so it's fine for a stack to be resting on any of those, but what happens if a stack is not on one of those four things, like our beam? Well, Clause E says that a stack that is leaning on or supported by a scoring object that is not part of the stack, other than those exceptions listed above, is not considered roughly vertical and should not count. Okay, so it's not considered roughly vertical if it's not on one of those exceptions up above. Well, those two pins on the top, the yellow and the blue pin, are resting on the gray beam. And the gray beam was not one of those exceptions that I mentioned. So that means those pins are not a stack. It's actually considered not roughly vertical, which is sort of weird. But anyway, it's not a stack. So those are worth nothing. Meanwhile, the pins on the bottom are worth 1 point each. You get the connected beam, which gives you 10 points. And you have the 2 3-color stacks. And because those stacks are in a beam, you get the matching goal bonus, which is worth 64 points total. And that's what it looks like on the scoring tablet. Again, you can pause here if you want to look for closer details. Okay, so what do you think this one is worth? So this is worth 14 points. That gray beam is not fully nested to the pins, so it's worth nothing. But the 4 pins are worth 4 points, and they are both 2-color stacks worth 5 points each, so 10 total there. And here's what it would look like on the tablet. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, so this is worth 38 points. So there are 3 connected pins on here. There is a 3-color stack. Obviously, it's nice and easy. There's three colored pins on there. You do get the matching goal bonus because the yellow pin is on the bottom and it's sitting on the standoff goal, which is yellow. You get the matching goal bonus. And that stack is placed on the standoff goal, so you get the 10 extra points there, and that's how you get 38 points. And this is what it looks like on the scoring tablet. Take a look at this one. This is worth 121 points. So going through this real quick, there are 6 connected pins. There is one 10-point connected beam. There are 3-color stacks, so each of those are a 3-color stack. They all get the matching goal bonus because they are on the because they're actually connected to a beam. So remember, any stack connected to a beam gets your matching goal bonus. And then this stack is placed on the standoff goal. And so what's special about stacks on the standoff goal is that every single one of them gets the bonus for being placed on the standoff goal. And that's how you get 121 points. And one thing to note here, that bottom stack that's got the yellow pin or the orange pin that's on the standoff goal, even though that pin matches, the color matches that, the matching goal bonus comes really because it's part of the, it's connected into the beam there. So even if that blue and orange pin were reversed, that would still be the exact same score. So the matching goal bonus can come from either the bottom pin matching the goal or from being within a beam like that. Okay, take a look at this one. Very similar, but there's no pins underneath. Not having pins underneath actually doesn't really make a difference. So we've got 4 connected pins here. We've got the connected beam. there are two three-colored stacks, and they each get the matching goal bonus. Again, because they're part of the beam, by being connected in the beam, you get the matching goal bonus, and both of those are considered placed on the standoff goal. And here's what it looks like in the tablet. Okay, let's take a look at this one. I actually saw this at a competition earlier. Okay, so this one's interesting. So this is worth 0 points. And you may be saying, huh, how come? I was thinking this maybe would get some points. Well, what ends up happening is that a stack is defined as a set of two or more connected scoring objects. And so a scoring object can be connected to another scoring object. And in clause B of rule SC3, it says a pin is connected if it is fully nested with another scoring object. So the standoff goal is not considered a scoring object. So this is not worth any points. It's not considered a stack. Okay, let's take a look at this one. It's similar to the last one. All right, well, you may have been saying 0 points, but this one is actually worth 10 points. So this one gets 10 points for being placed on the standoff goal. And you may be saying, wait a minute, I thought we just said it has to be a stack is two or more scoring objects. Well, here's where it gets interesting. That's true. A stack is a set of two or more connected scoring objects. Connect is the important word because SC3 defines what it means to be connected. And SC3C talks about how a beam is connected. So a beam is connected if it is fully nested to one or more connected pins or the standoff goal. So this beam is fully nested with the standoff goal, therefore it is considered a connected stack. And so therefore it gets the 10-point bonus for being placed on the standoff goal. And here's what it looks like in the scoring tablet. Okay. What happens on this one? And just to note, the robot is touching those two pins. It's kind of hard to see in the example. Okay. So this one is basically because the robot is touching any of the pins in the stack, it invalidates the stack. So it is not considered a stack. So there's no three-color stack here. There's no connected pins. But if you may remember in the scoring video, if a robot is in contact with two or more scoring objects at the end of the match, which it is in this example right here, then that robot gets 2 points. So this gives you 2 points. And it looks like this. Okay. Here's another example, and again, this robot is touching those pins. It's sort of hard to see in the picture here, but that robot is touching the yellow pin, the orange pin on the bottom there. Okay, this is worth 66 points. So if you were thinking 66 points, you're doing good. So again, the robot's touching that orange pin at the bottom there. And that what that does is that invalidates that entire stack. So that stack of blue and yellow pins is worth nothing. Although we'll come back to it because the robot is in touch, is contacting the yellow pin at the bottom, and the yellow pin is fully nested with the blue pin, that's considered two or more scoring objects. So that robot is touching two or more scoring objects. So you get the 2-point bonus at the bottom. Meanwhile, you get 4 connected pins. There is the 1 connected beam. And there are 2 3-color stacks. Again, because the blue and yellow stack is invalidated. But so you only get 2. And then because those 2 stacks are connected to a gray beam, those get the matching goal bonus. And here's what it looks like on the tablet. Here's another one where a robot is touching the gray beam. What do you think happens here? Well, this one's interesting. So because the robot is touching the gray beam there, that invalidates all of the stacks. So the gray beam is part of all 3 stacks. So because the gray beam is touching a robot, those stacks are invalidated. But the robot is touching 2 or more scoring objects. Again, sort of through the gray beam, it's touching 2 or more scoring objects. And so it gets the 2-point 2-point bonus at the end of the match. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, this one's pretty straightforward. So this is 3 connected beams, 3 connected pins. There is 1 connected beam. There are 3 2-color stacks, And because they are connected to the beam, they all get the matching goal bonus for a total of 58 points. And that's what it looks like on the tablet. Okay, this is an interesting one, and it starts to get into a little bit more of the obscure scoring situations. While some of these are very unlikely to happen, they're a good way to test our understanding of the rules. So my friend here at the St. James Robotics Club that I was mentioning earlier built this very impressive creation. I can tell you that it's harder to build than it looks. I tried. So I'm really impressed at what he did there. While this would never really happen in a match, is it worth any points? Well, because we have two fully nested pins, we have two connected pins in a single color stack. So that is worth 2 points. So it's really just a two pin stack. However, I would be hard pressed to find a harder way to earn 2 points in a match. That's what it would look like. Take a look at this and tell me what you think this is worth. So this is another example where on October 16th, VEX and REC actually changed their answer to this one. So in Q&A 2669, previously they indicated that this would count as a stack. But then in Q&A 2830, the Game Design Committee changed their definition and hence updated their previous Q&A answer. So the key here is that this is actually worth 0 points. And it's all because of that fun SC3 rule that makes this stack invalid. So SC3 clause E says that if a stack is leaning on or supported by a field element other than those in the excluded list that we talked about, then it should not count as connected. Well, the side of the field is not in the excluded field element list, so the beam and the stacks do not count. Okay, take a look at this one. So this is another one that changed mid-season due to the addition of rule SC3D and E. So those pins are not considered what's called roughly vertical because they are leaning on a scoring object. So this is actually worth 0 points. And again, it's all because of SC3E. And you can see Q&A 2664 says that a stack that's leaning on, like we were saying, or supported by a scoring object that's not part of the stack. So these two pins are not fully nested in the gray beam. And so if you're not fully nested in the gray beam's not part of the stack. So if the gray beam's not part of the stack and these pins are clearly resting on the gray beam, then the whole stack is invalidated. And so that's how you end up with 0 points here. Again, it's all about leaning on a scoring object that's not part of the stack. In this example, the robot is touching just the bottom pins. So what do you think? Well, this is worth 66 points. Because the robot is touching the bottom pins, it invalidates that two-pin stack that the gray beam is resting on. But the beam and the other pins above are still stacks. So you get 4 points there, plus the connected beam, plus both stacks are 3-color stacks. And because they are connected to the beam, they both get the matching goal bonus. But they are no longer placed on the standoff goal due to the robot touching the bottom stack. So you don't get the standoff goal bonus. But you do get the 2 points for being in contact with the pins at the end of the match. Now, you may be saying to yourself, hey, Coach Tyne, a few examples ago, I thought you said that a stack is not roughly vertical per our fun SC3, D, and E, as that beam is not resting on one of those allowed exceptions. And I agree with you. Good catch. So I submitted Q&A 2909 and the Game Design Committee added clause F that says there's another exception to the SC3 rule, which is if the robot is in contact with a lower stack in a multi-stack structure, which this is, it has no impact on the higher stacks. So it's almost like this is another exception, meaning those upper stacks are still good. And this is what it looks like on the scoring tablet. Okay, this one is similar to the previous, but note the robot is touching the gray beam as well due to that little sensor right there. So what do you think? Well, if you said 2 points, you'd be correct. You may be thinking that SC3F says that the upper pins count, right? But in this case, the beam is being touched, and that beam is part of the 2 upper stacks, which means the robot is touching, well, all 3 stacks, so they are no longer stacks. The only points here are the 2 points for being in contact with 2 scoring objects. The lesson here is make sure your robot is not touching the gray beam at the end of the match, as this 121 point stack is now worth only 2 points. Great. That's it. If you can think of any other scoring examples that you have seen that you've been confused about and you think would be useful for me to create a video about, please let me know and I can consider doing that. Also, please make sure you check the description down below, because if any of the rules have changed throughout the season, or if I find out any of my interpretations of the rules were wrong in this video, I will describe it down there in the description. Special thanks to my fellow Connecticut ref, Coach Grenier, who took a quick look at all of my interpretations of all of these scoring examples. And one last thanks to this group.
St. James Robotics!
Okay, now you can do it wild. You ready? Like, St. James Robotics, really?